Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, let's go ahead and make some homemade Puerto Rican beans from scratch. Let's get into it. Alright, so the habichuelas that I'm going to be using today, habichuelas is how we call beans, are these small red beans. So I have a bowl here and it is filled with just cool water, and I'm going to soak about 1.5 cups of beans. Okay, I'm going to soak these overnight. Overnight is best because you want to make sure that the beans get nice and tender. All right, so I have 2 ice cubes of sofrito. I have 2 videos on my channel on how to make sofrito. By the way, if you don't know what sofrito is, it's just our cooking base for a lot of our recipes. It's a very concentrated cooking base of herbs, different herbs and veggies and stuff. All right, so for the recipe that I'm going to be using today, it's going to be kind of loosely based off of the recipe from La Cocina Criolla. This is a very old Puerto Rican cookbook. I believe the first publication is like 1954. So I'm going to make it my own like always. So I have my beans over there. I'm going to be using some ham. This is 8 ounces of ham. If you can find the one with the bone in, even better. Throw that bone in the broth. It's going to give it amazing flavor. I have here some aceite de achiote, which is a Nota oil. You can use sazon if you want, if you don't have this. I have tomato sauce, some oregano, and some cilantro over there. My sofrito's nice and thawed. So yeah, I'm good to go. All right, my beans are done soaking. I went ahead, I drained the water, and I gave them a little rinse. You're going to notice that the water is going to be a little red. That's natural. That's just the natural dye from the beans. Okay, and if you're wondering if making beans from scratch takes longer to cook than canned beans, no, it does not. It takes about the same time. Okay, just as long as you soak them for a long time. So now you can soak them for a minimum of 8 hours. Let's say you wake up early, you can go ahead and soak them before going to work, leave them on the counter, and you're good. And then by the time you come home, you're ready to cook. They're nice and soaked. Okay, now these little pieces that don't have the skin, I'm going to leave them in here because they're going to release some nice starch in the broth, and that starch is going to help thicken up the broth really nicely. Okay, all right, so I have a pot here, and I'm going to go ahead and put a generous amount of extra virgin olive oil. It's about 2 tablespoons. I will have all of the ingredients in the description box below. My heat is set over low. I just make sure that my oil is warm enough, and I'm going to saute my ham on lowish heat. I like to use low heat because if you cook it even on medium heat, the ham tends to splatter and it hurts. So cook it on a lower setting, okay? You're gonna go ahead and saute this ham until it is nice and golden brown. All right, and once your ham looks like this, you are ready to add the remainder of your ingredients. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that sofrito that I thought earlier. This is about 2 ounces of sofrito. And again, I'm gonna have all of the ingredients in the description box below. I'm gonna give it a little stir to combine. And then I'm going to add a little bit of aceite de achiote, which is a Nota oil. This is about like a teaspoon. If you don't have this, that's okay. Use sazon, no judgment from me. This is going to give it a nice, rich color. And then I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of tomato sauce. It's about like 2.5 tablespoons of tomato sauce, like between 2.5 and 3 tablespoons. Okay, give that a good stir. And so like the oil, the sofrito, the tomato sauce, and oftentimes pork is kind of like the foundation for a lot of our very savory dishes. And now I'm going to add a little bit of oregano. This is about like 1/4 teaspoon, just a little bit. I threw those beans in very aggressively. And now I'm adding the beans that I softened overnight. And then I'm just going to add enough water to cover my beans and then some, because I am going to let this simmer for about half an hour and the liquid will reduce. Okay, so I want to say this is about like 2.5 cups or 3 cups of water. Okay, I am also going to add some potato, but that's going to be towards the end. If you don't want to add potato, you can also add like calabaza, which is West Indian squash. If you can't find it, you can use like butternut squash, acorn squash, or even pumpkin. All right, I added like half a teaspoon of salt. I'm not going to add too much. You're going to check that at the very end once the liquid reduces. Okay. Because as there is quite a bit of water here, it's obviously not going to be salty enough, but again, it's going to reduce. So you add the salt, the salt that you want at the end. And then I added half a teaspoon of white sugar to help balance all that delicious savoriness. Doesn't make the beans sweet or anything like that. It just balances everything out. Now I'm going to set my heat to medium low and let it simmer. And after about 15 minutes, my beans are looking good. A lot of the liquid has already reduced, so the flavors are a bit more concentrated. At this point, you can go ahead and check for salt to see if it needs a little more. All right, so my beans are pretty much tender. Okay, they're like 90% ready. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add my potatoes. You can also add calabaza if you want to use calabaza. And you're just going to cook this for about 15 more minutes or just until your potatoes or calabaza, which is squash for us, is nice and tender. Okay. Looking really, really good. And then apart from the potatoes, I'm also going to add about 1/4 cup of some chopped cilantro. It's going to give it a really nice earthy flavor. Even though there's already cilantro inside the sofrito, I always like to add extra. So this is optional. All right, now I'm going to let this continue cooking for about 15 more minutes. And after about 15 more minutes, excuse the awkward angle by the way, my habichuelas guisadas or my stewed beans are done. And they came out absolutely perfect. You can pair this with some white rice. You can pair it with some dumplings, which is a southern Puerto Rican recipe that I will make in the near future. But yeah, they came out incredible. And that is all for today's video. If you've enjoyed today's recipe on Puerto Rican habichuelas guisadas from scratch, let me know in the comment section down below. As always, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. It helps my channel a ton. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and be sure to hit that notification bell. Until next time.